Hi SI, this is Miss Winger, and I am going to talk to you today about synthesizing sources into coherent arguments and some tricks and tools to do that well. First, I want you to look at the definition of synthesis here. I found this on Merriam-Webster, and the line that really stands out to me and what our teachers are asking us to do when they say that we're writing a synthesis essay or a research essay. They're asking us to combine often diverse conceptions into a coherent whole, to take different parts and pieces and put them together into something that holds together. And I want you to think about that in a way that relates to a conversation. Conversation holds together. You're with your friends, you're talking. It all is this wonderful experience where ideas are shared, jokes are made. You build off of what other people are saying and your role in it. And it's this exciting, energizing experience. When you're reporting research, you're entering a giant discussion that revolves around a topic or an idea. This conversation is held by researchers, philosophers, journalists, teachers, politicians, and you are part of that grand conversation of the idea. Sometimes your teachers will just ask you to explain what the basic conversation is around something, but as soon as your teacher asks you to prove a thesis, you are doing more than simply summarizing. You are jumping into that conversation. You are synthesizing sources along with your opinion about those sources and putting them into a coherent whole. To do this well, you need to be able to do 4 things. You need to summarize the common beliefs. You need to introduce research and opinions of experts. You need to show how the opinions of those experts relate to each other, what someone thinks, what somebody else thinks, how those ideas support each other or differ from each other. And then you need to talk about how those ideas and research and opinions of the experts relate to your ideas and beliefs and your argument, your thesis. So we're going to look at the database SIRS just for a touchstone, an idea of how this conversation looks when it's kind of laid out, at least partially for us. On SIRS, I chose a topic already. I didn't want to spend some time searching around, but I wanted you to see sort of an idea of the context, the basic background idea of a subject, some opinions from experts, and other opinions from experts. If you were assigned to write a synthesis or research essay on fishery management, on what's happening with overfishing and how fish populations are recovering or not recovering, you would think about how you needed to summarize the general beliefs. You'd have to introduce what some people are thinking, what others are thinking, and how these ideas relate to each other. And then you need to go on and say how all of this stuff supports or counters or relates to your ideas. How can you do that? Luckily, we have a tool for you. I'd like you to go to this link, bit.ly research templates. bit.ly research templates. I think you'll be glad you go there. Now, this is a document that we've put together, a tool for you to use to help you summarize a context, introduce what experts are saying, show the debate between experts, and show how you connect with that big, grand conversation. Now, I know I'm skimming through this really quickly. I'm going to slow down and show you how this tool works a little bit. One thing I wanted to point out is that some teachers require all writing in 3rd person, and some teachers allow for 1st or 2nd person. So in the sentence templates that are here, I modified them to be blue And I also organized this information in a way that shows the context, conversation, and participation in the conversation. So let's look at this together. If we look at the context, here's that background information. If you're talking about fishery management, you might open with, Americans have always believed that they have a right to the oceans and the food that is within them. Many Americans assume that the fish population is infinite. And you can go on. You can go on with these sentences to sort of introduce the general idea. If you start getting into the conversation, you're going to need to introduce what people believe, what people have researched, what they have learned. You're going to have to introduce these viewpoints. You'll have to summarize and quote research. These tools will allow you to summarize the experts' opinions, or to quote them, or to pull out parts of them. And they'll allow you to start thinking about the debate going between them. One person argues that this is true. On the other hand, someone contends that this is true. You'll see that you've got some tools to think about how these ideas work together, and more importantly, how your ideas work with those. So-and-so argues that this and this is correct. How can you reinforce that person's idea, or how does that person's idea reinforce your own ideas? These conclusions, which so-and-so discusses in this particular article, add weight to the argument that, and that thesis or topic that you're trying to prove, that assertion you're trying to prove. You may remember just a moment ago I said that some of these are in blue. Notice the statements in blue use we or I. Some of your teachers don't want you to use first or second person, but I left them in here because I think they'll help you create statements if you put them into the third person that integrate your ideas really, really well. And some of your teachers do want you to use first person, and they're here for you to practice with. If you spend some time exploring this tool, I think you'll find that it will give you a lot of strategies to think about how to weave these sources together. We learn by trying on somebody else's style for a little bit until we develop our own. And it's okay for you to use these. That's why they're here. Use them as a crutch until it becomes natural for you to think about how to create these sentences. And they're models for you too. Maybe when you look at one, you can think of a new way of saying that same idea, or of weaving this information together in a similar way. Many of your teachers tell you to talk about the so what. I think you'll find the so what and meta commentary sections of this tool very, very helpful for you. And finally, you may have noticed in the sentence frames, you'll see statements like this expert contends, or so-and-so complains, or this person renounces this idea, this person corroborates this idea. You'll see that they use verbs other than say. And they use verbs that are specific to the type of information and statement about that information they're sharing. Got another list of tools here for transitions. I think you'll find this helpful as well. Remember, you're going to need to summarize, show the context. You're going to need to show what experts are thinking. You're going to need to show how those ideas between experts relate to each other. And you're going to need to show and explain how your ideas connect with those other ideas. You're synthesizing this all together. You're putting it into a coherent whole in the grand conversation. Using these templates is a strategy to be able to do that well. They're a crutch for you for now until it becomes natural. And I want you to remember that your thoughts, your beliefs are important, and you are part of the grand conversation of ideas. And that's one of the great things a synthesis essay allows you to do. It allows you to stand with these other experts and say how you relate to them. If you need help, feel free to email us, si_librarians@siprep.org, or see Winger at siprep.org, or see Brancoli at siprep.org. We are here to help you love the library.